It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight reviews of Hello, Dolly, Anastasia, and Oslo. Plus an interview with the creator of Forbidden Broadway and Spamilton, Gerard Alessandrini. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. Good evening, Leslie.
Good evening, Charlie.
Well, we have a lot to talk about today.
Do, and we have a guest, and it's going to be a lovely evening.
Yes, we're going to have a lot of fun. So let's talk about something else that's very exciting. Hello, Dolly.
Oh, we're starting with Dolly?
Back,
okay.
I think so.
That's okay.
Back on Broadway, where it belongs, with the divine Miss M. Bette Midler, who has been on Broadway, but I think this is her first musical in a long, long time.
I don't think she's been on in a musical since
Fiddler
on the Roof. Yes,
I mean, she had her act.
Yeah, but
she had Art or Bust.
Right, but not in an act.
I think you may be right. So this is, of course, the Jerry Herman musical with the very famous number "Hello, Dolly," etc. back. And the first thing I have to notice is, boy, do I miss overtures.
I've been noticing that with several of the revivals that we've had. They're a lovely way of...
I mean, the score just bursts out into the theater. This is directed by Jerry Zaks, and I did not see the original Hello, Dolly, but I saw two Carol Channing revivals on Broadway, and it's pretty much, as far as I can tell, a fairly, for lack of a better word, traditional presentation. But that doesn't mean it's stale. It feels fresh, and it feels wonderful. And Bette Midler, she just comes on like gangbusters in the title role, but she finds it's hard for her to sustain it for the whole show. You know, as the show went further, I mean, she comes out, she does the opening, the first number, I Put My Hand In, and she's wonderful, and she does the title number, and the audience is loving her, and she loves them, and they love her for loving them, and it's a big love fest. But every
now and then, she runs to the side of the stage, and she makes it part of her shtick. She puts her hand on the side and she breathes heavily. Now, I'm a woman of a certain age. She's a woman of 70. And I know what it's like to have to suddenly stop and take a deep breath sometimes, even if I'm just talking and not singing. But, you know, I understand that and I feel for her. The difference between what she's doing and what Miss Close in Sunset Boulevard at the same age is doing is that she's got the chops. She just has to, you know, slow down a little bit.
Well, there are times when her voice doesn't quite...
She's got a little bit oh, what is her name? Patti LuPone going on there. There's a bit of a nasality that she gets every now and then in a number or two, but it didn't bother me. I didn't care.
To me, I did, because this is not a complicated score per se. You know, Carol Channing was a great musical comedy performer, but her range was not.
But she was a soprano, and Bette Midler's not. So
Carol Channing was a soprano?
Yeah, she could go way. She could belt,
really?
but she could also hit the higher notes. Yeah.
I never heard her do that.
You didn't listen to the album?
Yes.
Okay. The notes are there. She did them.
Well, maybe I'll have to re-listen. You sure you're not listening to the Pearl Bailey version?
No, very funny. Pearl Bailey didn't own a soprano. But what, you know, what's interesting, there was one particular scene that bothered me, and I don't know if we saw it on the same night or not. When she stopped to do the little speech to Horace, and she suddenly moved forward, and suddenly I was watching Sarah Bernhardt. She put on, did you see that same thing? She put on this accent, and she was doing stentorian Shakespearean, Horace, I don't know what's going on, Horace, but I went, what is she doing? What? And then it stopped, and then she went into the song, and then everything was fine. But it was just for that little bitty thing.
I don't recall seeing that, so that may have been.
It may just have been the night I saw it for some reason. Maybe she was trying out something. Who knows?
Could be. Look, it's live.
How can I say anything bad about
having
Bette
fun?
Midler? Right.
Yeah,
right,
that's
exactly.
the thing. It's Bette Midler. You know, even if there are hiccups in the performance, and I have to say there are, it's still Bette Midler, and you're going to love her.
There's a surprise in the show.
Oh.
And to me, that's David Hyde Pierce.
Really?
Because it's so out of his wheelhouse.
Yes.
To play
Horace Van de Gelder, the man who has hired Dolly to find him a wife, but who Dolly has set her sights on.
Yes, you got it. That's it. Because this comes out of The Matchmaker by Thornton Wilder, and that's the story. That's the whole story. Dolly Levi of Yonkers, who has her hand in everything.
Yes.
And I just thought that he was marvelous. He got more out of a flip of his lip with a mustache on it than an awful lot of people get with whole.
I don't know. I mean, Horace is a very blustering character.
That's what I saw.
And maybe because he's just so slim. I didn't
bluster to be slim.
I know, but it just it
He just did that,
it did
you know?
come out, and his accent just. It was good, but for some reason I just expected to be knowing I've seen him in so many things, and he's just overall an amazing performer. And here,
but mostly when I see him,
right.
he's a particular kind of character. This is nothing like I've ever seen him do ever. So that's
all
what
right.
I loved about it.
I will agree.
That's
I
what
will
I
agree
loved.
with you on that. How well he did it, I'm not 100%
right.
sure. Kate Baldwin as the widow Malloy.
Yes,
there are a lot of
she was
widows
lovely.
and widowers in this play.
Well, yeah, there are. That's what
Who Dolly is allegedly
helping out.
helping out, setting up with
Helping hand,
Vandergelder.
yes.
And also Benny Feldstein as her assistant, Minnie. I think.
Yeah, that was interesting choice. And
Yeah,
of course, Gavin
and a very
Creel,
good one,
Yes,
as
it
it
was.
turns
a
out.
surprising but very good one. And Gavin Creel, whom we've seen in many shows,
Right.
including Mary Poppins, I believe. Was he not in Mary Poppins?
I
think he
do
was.
not recall, but he certainly he plays
thought he was-
Vandergelder's head clerk.
I thought he was in the Dick Van
Excellent.
Dyke role in Mary Poppins. Pretty sure.
Not sure.
But anyway.
Taylor Trench as his
Yes, very funny.
as the assistant.
Very funny.
Also, but the musical, the set, the atmosphere, for lack of a better word, it is Technicolor, and it just brings you back.
It was cotton candy Technicolor. It was,
Even
it was
even better.
like 70s Technicolor in movies.
I would think more 60s
Molly
or
Brown.
even
Oh, okay, well.
50s
Okay.
on that. But it's just it reminds you of why we love this musical. And I thought, oh, they're going to have to update it. They're going to have to do. They really have not.
They put
And it works.
The choreographer did put a couple of spins on it. I
Yes.
mean, I recognized, even though I haven't seen it myself, I know which is Agara Champion's choreography. You can't mistake with the things that he did. But Warren Carlyle did do a couple of things that I thought were quite lovely, and there were a few
Yes,
little
it's
tinkerings here
it's
and there.
not scene for scene, but it certainly invokes that feeling, and it still works. And look, Bette Midler. When are you going to get that chance? On the other hand, I said that with Angela Lansbury when
And
she
then-
was,
and you got that chance.
and she's been back and back. So maybe we'll see more of Bette. But in the meantime, there is Hello Dolly. I think 3 3/4.
Oh, I would give it 4 just for
Okay.
fun. I mean, the
Fun,
fun
it is certainly
factor
fun.
is way
You
up-
might nudge me
there.
up to fun.
Okay,
to
well,
4.
nudge him up to fun, guys. Okay, 4 for
Okay.
that then. I'm going
From
to
the
go
old to the new,
to a new musical. I will hand
based
you
on
that
an old
one, yes.
musical,
Based-
sort of.
Well, based on a movie musical, but it's also based on a story.
and it's not Disney.
It's
A musical
not
based on a
Disney,
cartoon, and it's not
but
Disney.
she's a Disney princess nonetheless.
Oh,
The Anastasia is a Disney princess nonetheless. But
Okay.
it brings back. It's Warner Brothers, I think, isn't it? Or
20th Century
Universal-
Fox,
20th
actually.
I wasn't even close. Okay, 20th Century Fox. Thank you. But it brings us back with Terrence McNally on the book and Stephen Flaherty and Lynn Ahrens on the music and lyrics and
Yes.
music. And it's the story of the Crown Princess of Russia, Anastasia, who was supposed to be shot with all of her family. And I mean, imagine starting off a musical by having the family shot, including the adorable little boy. And then it's years later, after the Stalinist Russia has come to be.
more like Lenin, I think.
Lenin, you're right. Well, Stalin was in the army, but okay, I mean, Stalin superseded. No, not superseded. Yes, took after him. Anyway, the point is that
Point is, it's the beginning of the Soviet Union, and the royal
Right.
family is not welcome.
not only not welcome, they think they're dead. And whatever White Russians, the royal family was called the White Russians, and the others were the Red Russians, the proletariat were the Red Russians. And whatever White Russians are left are all in Paris, which welcomed them, but they all wound up being things like doormen. There were wonderful movies in the time period, including Ninotchka, which is to say about this, where the White Russians are working in menial jobs, and then they get together, and then they are the royal countess and whatnot, and it's very funny. And there are 2 wonderful characters, sub characters, who are made up specifically for this production. I mean, they're from the cartoon. This is based on a cartoon. We have to keep reminding ourselves. But they are played by John Bolton and Caroline O'Connor. And they are a fake baron and the real lady in waiting. Caroline
I think-
O'Connor is the lady in waiting over here. I'm not up to her yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And so they are a
Yes.
an older couple who have an old. You almost expect them to break out into I remember it well. They're that kind of a couple.
Well, the bottom line is you have that character and one other by I think Derek Klena.
Well,
Basically want to pass off a young woman
Yes.
as the granddaughter. Anastasia's grandmother is living in Paris. She's very wealthy.
Now,
and
Anastasia's
they
grandmother is played by Mary Beth Peel, who's been
Yes.
nominated for both the Drama Desk and the Tony Award.
Right.
And I
You
adore
may remember her from Good Wife. She was the husband's mother.
And from a play I directed downtown.
And the other woman is a Christy Altomer, a young woman who
Yes.
these two frauds basically try to pass off as Anastasia. The only thing is she might actually be Anastasia.
And there's a musical clue that keeps coming up with a music box that
Right.
is finally what. Now, this is also based on an old movie, based on the historical incident.
Right.
So in the movie, Ingrid Bergman was the Anastasia. Helen Hayes was the grandmother, and Yul Brynner was the only single person who was involved in this. He was the
So how did you like Christy
Altomar?
Altomar?
I thought she was charming. I thought she was a Disney princess. I thought she just had those big eyes and that high voice.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful voice. The interesting thing is, I took my daughter. I actually have not seen the cartoon. I actually want to. I took my daughter, Mira, and she said, "Well, you know, it was all right, but they had a much better. They had Rasputin as the villain in the movie.
cartoon.
He's not here. Here they've replaced him with a
With Ramin Karamu, that
a
they-
Russian bureaucrat who's basically been told, your father killed the royal family. Now go kill the next one." And she said, "Well, it's not as dramatic." Even so, I enjoyed it. The score is not quite up to the level of Ragtime.
No,
But it's
nothing
good,
could
and you've
be.
got some nice, you know, a pleasant, enjoyable. Again, the feel good, another feel good musical.
Well, surprisingly, given
with,
what it's
with
based
a happy
on,
ending.
I want to say that Derek Klena reminded me on stage of Tom Cruise. He had this, you know, clean-cut jaw, firm jaw, and whatnot. A star in the making. And Ramin Karimloo, I said it wrong before, who we saw recently in Les Mis, plays the made-up member of the Red Army who's out to get her.
Right. It's a good cast. It's an enjoyable production. I would give it 3.5.
Directed by Darko Chesnik, who's not known for musicals.
Until now.
And until now, and I think he did a brilliant job on
Right.
this musical.
The one thing I would say, though, the set, they use a little too much video or
I
film or
loved it.
projection.
Oh God, it made
Okay.
me feel like I was in. The video projections are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Again, that's a difference of opinion, you know.
Obviously. How would you rate it?
Oh, I would give it 4.5. It was one
Oh.
among my favorites of the season, truly and truly. Then I guess you should start this one since.
Well, I'll start, but you jump in
Okay.
quickly. This is Oslo, which we saw off-Broadway at Lincoln Center, and now we have seen on-Broadway
Yep.
at Lincoln Center. This is the Oslo Accords, how they came to be, the behind-the-scenes, which much of the same cast, including Jefferson May, who only plays one role here, but he's excellent. It is a really good, solid drama about the Accords with some fun characters. The only quip I would have, the only problem I would have is it's balanced, but it's a little too balanced on it because, well, the whole thing fell apart when Arafat started his second intifada, and they don't want to emphasize that because they want to keep it, but to get the story right, you really do have to emphasize something like that.
Well, if you remember, the writer J.T. Rogers is the same person who wrote that wonderful thing, Bread and Sweat and Tears. What was that thing called? Blood and Sweat.
Blood, sweat, and
No, we saw it at Lincoln
it
Center.
was about the Soviets in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember it. And it's directed by the same director, which is Bartlett Sher. Blood and Gifts, that's why I was
Yes.
confused about it. And it's directed by Bartlett Sher, who can do no wrong in my book, really. I don't remember him doing anything wrong ever. And what he does with this cast of 15 or 17 people is make a cast of 50, because every now and then somebody walks in and there's a butler, and the butler in another scene is the prime minister, and in another scene is somebody else. And they just go round robin, and it is amazing how they do it. And on that bigger stage, on the smaller stage, they had less.
Well,
room
here
to
they also
travel.
have projections, but I think to me it was much more effective than
they're also-
in Anastasia.
They're not moving. I mean,
Some of them are.
Okay, but they're not. It's not the same. They don't make up. Okay, I don't want to go back to Anastasia, but I'll simply say that it was a different kind of projection, and it was only to set a tone. It wasn't to make a scene. I think
Right.
that's the difference of the way I felt about it. But
That's a good analysis, yes.
thank you. But the cast is wonderful. There are so many journeyman actors that we've seen in so many other small roles here and there. Chief among them, Daniel Jenkins, whom I've loved for years, Daniel Oreskes, and somebody I worked with, Joseph Saravo, and T. Ryder Smith, who I've never seen better, and I saw him down in Louisville do a whole season. This is an amazing group of actors, beautifully, and Jennifer Ailey, who is Rosemary Harris's daughter, and is now beginning to look and sound like her mother, which is amazing. I think it's a
Who is she in this?
She's the wife. She's Jefferson May's wife. And really, she's the guiding force. He starts it, but she's the one who very quietly moves him in the right direction for all of this.
And he does need some moving.
And with our president in the Middle East right now, I'm just praying that they even get that close to what the Oslo Accords were able to do. It's a couple of civilians putting this together, you know?
Right.
So we'll see.
Well,
but what did I get? And by the way, when they went from
it was a
Broadway,
very optimistic period. Unfortunately, it turned out to be a false optimism,
Yes,
and I don't
yes.
think we'll be seeing anything like this.
well, I sure as hell am not
Because,
optimistic, but when they moved it from downstairs
Yes,
to upstairs.
to upstairs.
So they made it from this size to this size.
And it works.
It works, but the actors still have to move back and forth on that stage in the same time period. They don't get extra time. So they've done it. It's a miracle to me that they've been able to do that.
And your conclusion?
Oh, you know, it's up for Best Play.
It
It's
is.
against Sweat. It's against
Indecent?
Indecent. It's against, I don't remember what the others are. Anyway, I want this to win. I really do. I don't know if it will. I really want it to win. Sweat will probably win. I want to give it 5. This is a 5 for me. I loved it before. I love it more now.
Right. I loved it before. I liked it a little less this time around, possibly because the lack of proper balance bothered
Okay.
me, or possibly just the second time around it didn't make the impression.
Okay.
But I would give it, I think, 3 3/4.
Okay.
Okay. And now it's time for our 2 on the Aisle interview. This week we have Forbidden Broadway and Spamilton creator Gerard Alessandrini. Oh, Broadway, he's back. For the past 30 years, our guest Gerard Alessandrini, with his show Forbidden Broadway, has been to the Broadway theater what Weird Al Yankovic has been to pop music, and Mad Magazine has been to everything else. And now he is back with vengeance with a new show. If Forbidden Broadway was MS-DOS, his new show Spamilton is the windows of Forbidden Broadway. And we are so happy to have him with us this evening. Gerard,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to still be at bat, and thank you for having me on.
More than at bat. Spamilton is not just for those who can't get into Hamilton. It's for those who have seen Hamilton and want to see, you know, what goes on behind the scenes, perhaps.
Right.
It's a wonderful show. Whatever gave you the idea to? I know what you have Lin Miranda say in the show.
Right,
but
which
what
is
gave
a
you the
fantasy.
idea?
It's not really what Lin Miranda would say. What gave it? Well, you know, I'd been spoofing Broadway shows for 30 years. You know, everything from Cats to Les Mis, right, and Annie and everything. So then along came Hamilton, and I thought, well, I have to do Hamilton because it's the biggest hit show in New York since I've been here. You know, I wasn't around when they did My Fair Lady, so it's the biggest hit show since I've been here, so I have to have a crack at it. And then, of course, it's loaded. I mean, it's historic, it's dramatic, it's got rap, but all different other types of music, too. It's even got some swing and a touch of classical, because, you know, Lin-Manuel Miranda has such a wide palette of taste in music.
Britpop.
So I thought, well, it's got to be not just a number in Forbidden Broadway, it's got to be a whole show of its own. So, you know, Camelot, Spamalot, Spamilton. So it seemed like the next progressive title.
You've also managed to sneak in a couple of shows and a couple of actresses who you might not have been able to put into Forbidden Broadway.
Exactly. Well, it's a big mashup. That's what I call it. It's a big mashup of Hamilton and Broadway, which is what I think it's about. It's about how Hamilton affected Broadway and what it does when you compare it to other shows. So I've mashed up Gypsy and Man of La Mancha and Sweeney Todd and everything.
But it has the most spine. Spamilton has the most spine of a book of any show that you've done, because the others are usually a bit of this, and I happen to have Forbidden Broadway in my hand, but they're usually a bit of this and a bit of that, and it's always a pastiche.
Right.
But this has a beginning, a middle, and an end that revolves around.
Right, there's no blackouts like Hamilton, it just keeps evolving.
Yeah.
And a lot of the actors who are wonderful only play one character. For example, Dan Rosales only plays Lin-Manuel Miranda. So he's that, and it's a very weird journey he takes, but it is a journey.
You know, you've spoofed anybody who was anybody on Broadway over the last 30 years. So the question I've always wanted to ask, why haven't you been shot?
Oh, you know, sometimes I think about that. I thought, oh my God, what if like Bernadette's friends put a, you know,
A hit out on
hit
you?
out on me? I've thought of that. Please don't get any ideas. But
But aren't they instead banging on your door to say, please put me in the show?
sometimes that's happened. You know, I remember in the original show, Carol Channing wasn't in it, and she wanted to be in it. You know, she didn't want to be in, have a drag man do it, but she wanted
Right.
a nice girl to do it, which we did, and she liked that. And she
But
used to
being in
come.
your show is such a badge of honor.
Well,
mean,
I think it's because we're just spoofing the hits. You know, we're not, you know what I mean? We're not really
Yes.
spoofing the
No,
big
that's the
flops because
point.
people don't know them. So if you're in the show, it's the flip side of winning a Tony. If you're that famous and you've done something that notable,
Right.
then you get a number in Forbidden Broadway. So you have to have accomplished a lot.
and a
to be in
picture up in
Forbidden Broadway.
Sardi's. It goes
Right.
together,
Yes,
right?
That's right. That's right.
Now, there is one actress who just seems to make it in, I'm not sure if any version, every version, but almost every version, Patti LuPone.
Patti
Is there just something
LuPone.
about her that you...
Well, first of all, I really love her. I mean, you know, what about it? Well, she's a fine actor, takes herself very seriously, you know, incredible chanteuse, incredible voice, and of course her career has been incredible with ups and downs, like the whole Sunset Boulevard scandal from 20 years ago when Glenn Close did it on Broadway. I'm sorry to bring that up, Patty. But you know, I just love her, and she's been in all types of musicals, and she always sings, you know, wonderful songs, whether it's from Company or Can Can. Remember, she did Encore's version of
I
Can
saw
Can.
that, yeah.
So, and then of course, you know, she's got her shows like Evita. So she's, but that's right. We've spoofed her more than any other actress in.
Well, except Cheetah and
No,
even
yeah,
more?
not yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean yes, we've done
He
Cheetah.
knows his stuff.
Yeah, we've done Cheetah. No, we have. I must have done like, you know, 25 Patti LuPone numbers.
But yet, when I came, now I just saw the show again yesterday. Charlie and I saw it way back in the beginning when it first opened. But there is no Patti.
There is no Patti.
No Patti.
Yes, we're giving her a rest.
But you updated and you put in
Glenn Close.
Glenn Close.
Right, in Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset Boulevard.
As a mad actress begging for tickets and right on
Well,
Broadway.
her show's closing soon, so she'll have time.
And then I'm thinking of doing a flip of that, like you know, Glenn Close is begging Lin-Manuel for tickets to Hamilton, and then Liza Minnelli begs for tickets to Hamilton, and Audra begs for tickets. Then I think I want to have Bette Midler come out, and then Lin-Manuel beg her for tickets
that
to
would
Hello
be a joy.
Dolly.
You did a wonderful thing in this one, though. You did a Mashables. And so you
Yes.
had American Psycho in Paris. which
Yes,
I fell
yes,
off my chair when I heard
The
that one.
Lion King and I.
The Lion King and I.
Avenue Crucible.
Yes.
Right. I think I'm working on Amelie and the Chocolate Factory, and yeah.
that's-
So I get a few new ones that coming
That's
in.
cruel.
That's cruel.
But it's
Some
going to be a
Pacific
lot. But
overtures
it's
we
going to
could
be.
do. Yeah.
You've been doing that.
Now, a little known fact: you actually performed in Forbidden Broadway when it first came out.
Of course, many, you know, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Are you in here by any
do you
chance?
miss
Yeah,
that?
this picture of me in there. Yeah, yeah.
Do you miss?
Well, it's funny you should bring that up because I hadn't performed in 17 years, and the gentleman who plays our king in Spamilton had to go away for the weekend, so I played the king this weekend, and I said, "Oh my God, I haven't been on stage in 17 years."
Oh, but you
know,
didn't
my
do it
voice was
Sunday.
a
I
little
missed
rusty,
you.
but then I thought, "Oh, this is fun. I think I want to do a nightclub act or write a show for myself." So yeah,
It was a good
originally
bit.
I wanted to do. You know, I was a young man, so I thought, oh, I want to spoof Yul Brynner and Rex Harrison, and those were the guys that were on Broadway then, in their revivals, of course.
Yes.
So I used to do it, and I did it with Nora Mae Ling, who was a wonderful performer originally, and she was a great wit, and she's no longer with us, unfortunately, but she was a great light, and I wrote the show for her and myself to showcase us as performers. But you know, then I realized, oh, I can update this show and keep it going, and then came the British invasion, so I couldn't resist that.
Did you have any idea it would go on
No.
forever?
No.
That you would go on
No.
forever?
You know, I thought I was going to get a better job eventually, but I thought I was going to get something on TV or film, but I didn't.
Well, what?
But I've
would
had fun.
What would your idea of a better job be at this point?
I know. No, it's great because I'm sort of my own boss, you know.
Sort
At
of.
least artistically, I'm my own boss. I've done some writing for hire, and that's hard when somebody says, we like that line, we don't like that line.
Where did the name Forbidden Broadway come from?
Well, it was just before we even did the show, I used to write these parody songs, as many young people do, and keep them in a folder, you know, and sing them to friends at a party. So I just had a folder called Forbidden Broadway, which meant, which kind of meant like, Forbidden Broadway is forbidden to me because I'm such a naughty, out-of-the-box performer. And in a sense it has been because I still haven't made it to Broadway. So, but I guess 47th Street Theater with Spamilton is probably as close as I got, but that's okay.
And we should point out, you
yes.
can,
Yeah.
if you haven't seen the show off-Broadway, you can get the CD of it.
It just came out.
And
the
Wanna get
vinyl.
vinyl.
The vinyl is back. Hamilton came out with vinyl, so we weren't going to be outdone. We did a vinyl. And, with the vinyl comes with a download card, so you essentially are getting a digital copy for your iTunes library. And then the CD, which I've had 12 Forbidden Broadway CDs, 1 Forbidden Hollywood CD, and this is my 14th. This is Spamilton, and it was fun to do. And this the original cast are all magnificent. They were young, brilliant performers that gave 1,000% of their heart and dedication to the show.
One of them was discovered. Nora Shell.
Yeah,
was
Nora Shell is
discovered
also
in-
nominated for a Drama Desk Award.
Right.
Yeah, she's a great, great talent.
But is this your first vinyl? The first time?
No, because the Forbidden
Initially,
Broadway
was-
was so old. That's 1982. that was like one of the last shows on vinyl.
I think I have a cassette deck, a cassette version of
yes,
that.
we have cassettes of those too, right?
Cassette.
Those may be
Oh,
gone.
Wait
yeah.
till those come back.
Yeah, they still play.
Who knows? So, vinyl is back, Gerard is back, and Broadway is better for it. Gerard Alessandrini, thank you so much.
Thank you,
It's been
Charlie.
a pleasure having you.
Pleasure having you.
Thank you, Leslie.
And that is our show for the evening. When you go to the theater, look for Leslie and me.
Thank you.
Us two.
On the aisle.